Hello folks, it's the farmer here for an early edition of Better Get to Know a Garden. I thought we'd start a little bit early this year for a couple reasons. First, we have no baseball, so we might as well open up the garden season a little early. And second of all, maybe a little bit of distraction from all the terrible things that are happening over in the Ukraine. I hope that all of this finds you and your friends, and if you have any over there, safe. So today is February 28th, and according to legend, the farmer sees a shadow on the 28th. The next day is March 1st. I would say it's safe to say that we are going to be at March 1st tomorrow. So you can see we are a long way from doing any serious planting. I mean, we had 6 inches of snow just a couple days ago. Most of it's melted. It's the first time I've been down here in months. But as a sure sign of spring, we have some red-winged blackbirds who you might be able to hear in the background. They're the real harbinger of spring around here. Everybody says, well, about the robins. Our robins are relatively stupid. They stay here all year round. But the blackbirds are back, and that's a good sign. That's the asparagus patch, hopefully, and you can see there's nothing going on here. We did plant out in the hinterlands out here some milkweed last year to try to get some to grow for the monarchs. Hopefully it'll come up. I mean, we're a long way from doing that. I've put these markers out here where I planted them. No idea if they're going to come up at this point, but we can only hope. And my children said that I should plant a tree farm out here. I think they're looking for a legacy that 25, 30 years from now we can set up a ongoing concern. Okay, back indoors now where it's quite a bit warmer. So I thought we'd start today maybe with some lessons learned. Always a good place to start. We had some major successes and some dismal failures last year, as in most years. But probably one of the biggest lessons learned is I had a lot of faith in my little greenhouse that it was going to get all the seeds going and everything was going to be fine. And the greenhouse did help, but it is necessary but not sufficient. You need cooperation from Mother Nature. We didn't get any cooperation last year, so things were a little bit dicey and certainly far from optimal. So I will not be relying as much on the greenhouse this year. So there's a couple things I'm going to do. We have to have a varied start to some of these seeds. I've been in the habit of getting everything ready to go so that middle of May I can put everything out, but that's not how the plants grow. The Brussels sprouts are cold weather plants. They like to be harvested in the cold, therefore you don't put them out so early. On the other hand, the herbs, which are really just tasty weeds, and they grow like weeds, so if you put them out too early, they're blooming and all done by the time you want to use them with other things like the tomatoes or the cucumbers. They're shot, so we'll be starting those later. Then we have like the peppers that don't even think about growing until the soil temperature hits about 70 degrees, which is end of June or so. So those things, I'll be varying the starts on some of these seeds so that they're ready to put out when the calendar and the temperatures say they're ready to get out. Secondly, I will not be growing corn this year. Growing corn is a fool's errand. For 15 to 25 cents, go down to the local farmer stand, buy the corn from the farmer who knows how to raise corn. That's not me. No corn. Also, no moon squash. Those just took up a tremendous amount of room, didn't produce a lot of squash, and it was no better than the butternut squash, which are delicious and much easier to grow, take up much less room. Next, I guess it's tomatoes. I put out a lot of different tomato varieties. Burpee has 3 dozen varieties of tomatoes. I tried like 6. There was one called Bodacious, which was really a misnomer. It was the worst tomato I think I've ever tasted in my life. So we'll be sticking with the super sauces, which were really good for like sauces and tomato soup and things, and brandy wines, and the little 4th of July salad tomatoes. They were delicious. To be doing a lot more of those. So in the way of something new this year, we're going to do onions. Those have to be started now so that they grow into onion sets, so they're ready to be put out when they're supposed to. I'm going to plant those in the asparagus patch, in between the asparagus. I don't think it'll interfere with them. I'm consulting with the master gardener. He says no, it's good to do that. So I'm going to be planting those now. I'll spare you the drama of me putting in some soil into some peat pots and a few seeds. I think you can imagine that at this point. Also going to be growing Swiss chard, some kale, and some jack-o'-lanterns just for fun. Next, I guess, is the fungus control. You may recall that the powdery mildew just decimated the cucumbers and tomatoes as always. And I found that potassium bicarbonate, which is a cousin of baking soda, is supposed to actually kill it and stop it. And they use it in beer, so it's got to be good, right? We will be trying that as a spray to keep the powdery mildew down. Hopefully that's a success. And then last but not least, the tomato canopy was a huge plus. I'm going to put a trademark by that tomato canopy. And we'll be putting that up again and maybe improving it. And with that, I will leave you and see when there's something to see outside.